Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. We're having a bit of a panic pre thing because no hat. I mean, what are we going to do here? So here's an old, doesn't quite fit, all black one that the other Steve gave me. But how you doing there? What do you think my all black hat?
I mean, I've got mine. Like, I'm prepared. Clearly, mine doesn't leave the desk beside me, so I'm always prepared. I'm always ready. I mean, it just doesn't look the same.
It's very dusty on the other side. I'm not sure I want to put the dusty side down on my head, but there we go.
Oh, goodness.
You can see it looks grey on that side. That's because of dust.
Oh.
And then it's actually black on that side. That's the colour it should be.
So that's branding there, advertising. Here you go, sponsorship.
There we go. Well, sponsorship for the All Blacks. Yeah, not sponsorship for me.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. Yeah, dream on. Dream on. Okay, sorry, folks, we're an hour late because basically I was taking my daughters back to their mum who has them during the week and end of a long weekend, and too many people decided to basically from bloody Aucklanders have left Auckland and driven down to Tauranga and into the Coromandel, and they're all heading home, and so through the gorge and then to Pairua. Got a small roundabout, and that roundabout therefore meant that it was an extra half hour of people just queuing up to get around the roundabout, get through the roundabout. But there you go. So fun and games. But Steve, how did your live streams go this weekend?
Good and cracking as always. How do we describe them? Interesting. Right, I think especially Sunday. I think Saturday was a bit, as you'd expect, business as usual. Not too many nerves. Pretty much, yeah, people were pretty chill. People were pretty expectant and, as they thought it was going to go. But Sunday, Sunday was emotional, man. people really were getting upset and they're happy, then they're sad, they're angry. Yeah, it was a roller coaster of emotions, I tell you, for viewers. But good interest around the globe. It's good to see. And a few disappointed fans, I think, after Sunday morning.
And let's be honest, a much easier weekend for you because there wasn't a 3-hour gap between games.
Yes, well, that's true. Yeah, it was one game and done for the day, wasn't it? Which is nice. Good to see. But yeah, it's all I've found about the whole World Cup, especially when it's gone to these busy parts. I think I said it last time we're on this here. It's just, people are so quick to throw their own team under the bus, and it's like that meme. I don't know if you've seen that meme with like Ireland's World Cup cycle and England's World Cup cycle here. Unexpectedly makes the next round. Fans get excited. It's coming home. They get kicked out in the semi-finals. Round and round in circles it goes. That's exactly the sort of emotions that you get throughout the whole match, really. It's like, oh, no, we're going to get smoked. Then, oh, my goodness, we're winning at half-time. And then, it's all doom and gloom. It's like the ref's fault. It's always the ref's fault. It's just a circle of emotion, which is quite fun.
Right. Let's be very clear, folks. It was not the ref's fault. Put bluntly, right? Not on this show. It was not. No. It was not the ref's fault. Ben O'Keefe had a good game. Let's be. Let's. Oh, hey, come on.
He was consistently average for both sides. I mean, I think it was a number of bad things, but not like one-sided. It was just didn't see them, right? The
guy's running around a pitch.
Yeah.
He doesn't have 16 cameras like we do, and replays and slow-mos and all this kind of stuff. He's got to watch it. He's got to see it live. So funnily enough, he's not going to see things, and that's fine. That should be fine. So yes.
Yeah, I agree. Refereeing was a waste of time. But what I found really interesting in the second game, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, the one try that was scored, woohoo, there was a try of excitement. A lot of English about the fact of that tackle on Snyman, on Foree just before the try, getting back up again. And it's like, I watched it live, I watched the post-match and all that stuff, and yet I've never seen a reverse angle replay actually showing, the side where you'd actually see him tackled, because from the far angle, you see the tackler is in the way, and then obviously the guys all standing around. You don't actually see an angle, and I still haven't, and I've looked it up on YouTube and stuff like that, an angle to actually see reverse side, whether he was actually held in a tackle or not. And of course, English fans up in arms. It was held. How do you get back up again? It's a terrible call. But how can you? I cannot find an angle that distinctively says yes or no he's held or not. So how can anyone comment? I mean, I've said to people, if you find one, show me it. Send it in Discord, DM me on Twitter. I don't know, something, show me, because then we can agree, okay, he made a bad call or he didn't. But until someone shows me that, how can you actually make a educated opinion that's not biased towards your side of the argument without actually physically seeing it in that sort of way? So I thought he missed a few major things, but I don't think it was consistently poor towards one team. I think a glaring one was in a Willems had tackled one of the English players and was over the ball for about, you could almost count 6 or 8 seconds, and then got penalised for sealing off. And it's just like, he had hands around the ball. But again, it was on the sideline. O'Keefe was on the other side. It was on near ruck. He couldn't see. His body's everywhere. So, yeah, it's understandable, and you can't see everything. But I don't think it was one-sided.
No. I think Maro Toji got away with tackling a player when he was lying on the floor. If you're lying on the floor, you're out of the game, right? You can't.
That was pretty blatant too.
That was, yeah. I was like, oh, yellow card. Here we go. Cynical play, playing on the ground, done. Just like,
how many times was Colby and Aronson taken out in the air? Players tripped, falling over. I mean, 2 years ago, we probably would have seen 4 yellow cards in that game, I reckon.
Oh, rubbish. They were all challenging for the ball. If we weren't playing against against basically 2 Kylie Minogues on the wings, and they could actually get up and had someone tall enough, then maybe you'd have a point. But these guys, anyway, we will get into the game later, but because yes, I think thoroughly outcoached is going to be my call for that one. So we kicked off the weekend. Now, I kind of watched a little bit of this live, and then went. Then had a market to go to, and went to the market, and then came back and watched it all afterwards.
Oh, that's all right.
So I've actually seen both games this weekend, which is so there we go. I don't think it's a spoiler alert. I'm going to put up margins because we talked last week about them being the best weekend, the best ever, and the closest ever quarterfinals. And I said, look, what we'll do is we'll keep track of how close the semi-finals are compared to previous years. I think as has been sort of mentioned, the 38-point margin was the second largest winning margin in a quarterfinals. It would also have been, if we look, the semi-finals. If we look at the quarterfinals, the largest margin there has been 49 points back in 2015, which was New Zealand over France. So it would also have been the second ever, the second biggest quarterfinal one, because as you're going to hear from me, I think we had quarterfinals this weekend, not semi-finals. Later on, the 2 semi-finals were South Africa versus France and New Zealand versus Ireland. They were the semi-finals and decided who was going to make it to the final. These were so an average of 19.5 points. These are the second largest margins ever. But let's be honest, that's down to one game, not the other one. Really, here with this one, as that was as close as it can be without going to overtime. So not as crazy and as blown out as on I must say. Chris Evans, England were so unlucky. We'll discuss that one later. Is Eddie Jones still the coach of Australia as he moves to Japan? We'll talk about that later in the news section. Robbie, damn, is that a new haircut or do you usually wear a hat? I can't tell. Well, yes, I do normally wear a hat, and yes, it is a relatively new haircut. Arguably my worst haircut I've ever had, because this bit here he gets wrong and just flops the wrong way. It looks like I've got like a comb over going the wrong way. It's horrible. So yes, sorry about the haircut, but I have lost my hat. It's a disaster. But I do agree that's probably the most important thing to talk about in this entire show than the rugby. Who cares? Anyway, so I was expecting. I went for those Patreons on here would have seen my predictions over on patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio. I had New Zealand by 20 and South Africa by 15. So I was expecting kind of a 35 margin in total. In the end, we got a 39 margin. So pretty close to that. Just not split the way I was expecting it to. But on to the New Zealand-Argentina game then. And this was, as you say, pretty calm during your live stream, because basically New Zealand took control of this early on, and this was always going to be the result we ended up with. There was no sort of suspense in this one, really, was there?
I think this was a game where the way it played out, and obviously the victor and how it went around, rotated around how Argentina was going to play. I said all the week building up to this, the first 5, 10, 15 minutes of this game, you're going to know not only probably who was going to win was pretty much 90% chance right going that way, but how they were going to win, whether it was going to be a good close battle type like arm wrestle, punchy game, or whether it was just going to be a bit of a blowout. We found out pretty quick. I mean, there's tries pretty free-flying all the way through. I mean, Jordan scored in the 11th minute, Jordy Barrett scored in the 16th, and all the Argentinians had was a Buffelli penalty to match that. So they started off pretty well, the All Blacks. They got rid of any sort of hope and what do you call it? The 16th man of the crowd getting involved, and the passion of the Argentinians got blown out pretty early. So all that sort of possibility and what the Pumas needed to go their way to get off that good start and get themselves fired up and into the match kind of died out pretty early, which is a bit of a shame because all the New Zealanders are like, I just hope we smoke them and get through the final and don't have to worry too much about it. But I kind of want to see a good game. I think Argentina is a really fun team to watch when they get a bit of confidence and they get a bit of passion about themselves. They become exciting. They become a bit more physical. That flair comes out to play off their backs, but just didn't really see it. I think they kind of played a little bit too narrow for my liking. They didn't have enough trust in their backs if I was going to be critical of the Argentinians. And also when they got in the attacking areas, your stats probably going to disagree with me, but when they're in the 22, they just went straight to the forwards and they were pick and goes, 1, maybe 2 passes at most, but it was all crash up. If it went to the back line, Chocowates just went, no, I've got this. He played a really good, I'm the only man in the back line sort of role and just plowed straight into anyone. And I just think they had so much X factor. Like Mateo Carreras has been one of their best players at just scoring tries, just not even needing opportunities, just with his pace and explosive power, he can make things happen. I don't think they utilised enough when they're attacking. When they're in their own half, around that 10-metre line, he got the ball a little bit and actually did make inroads, but I think close to the line, didn't use them enough, didn't trust the backs, just ploughed the forwards. And the All Blacks defence, you could see too when they were defending near the goal line, the wingers are out there all by themselves because the All Blacks defence just narrowed in, covering out wide, bringing that cone sort of shape around their defence, just keeping the Pumas close. And they were happy to play close, thinking that they were going to dominate that part of the game. So, unfortunately, didn't get the spectacle. All Blacks calmly took control and didn't need to really, I don't think, reach third gear. Lucky if they got out of second, really. They just kind of cantered home. And Will Jordan should be suitably upset, I feel, as well. He should be. Richie Mo'unga will be buying the beers this weekend, I think.
Why? Sorry, why do you think Will Jordan's upset?
Oh, well, 2-on-1 overlap. You don't pass the ball to a guy to score his 4th try and his record-breaking try for the most tries in a Rugby World Cup history. Why, Richie? Why?
8
Think
runs.
of my fantasy team, Richie. Think.
8 runs for Will Jordan, 3 of them going over and scoring tries, even if they were only 2 steps, some of them.
Yes.
3 clean breaks, which is more than any other player. Actually, no, sorry. Carreras also got 3 clean breaks, but that was with 12
Mateo
carries.
or Santiago?
Sorry?
Which one? Which Carreras?
Mateo Carreras.
I was right, see? Damn it.
Got 3 clean breaks off 12 runs, whereas Jordan did it off 8 runs. So yes. Most meters games was Talia. Actually, I thought Talia coming back from his it wasn't really a suspension, was it? It was because that wasn't judiciary sorted. So he came back inside. He had a good game because I thought I was a bit harsh on Les Feinuchin. I've not been every time I'm kind of thinking Talia's not as good as he is. He goes and proves me wrong and has a cracking game. 14 defenders beaten, so 14 missed tackles on him this game. And to me, that's really where it didn't really matter what Argentina did with the ball going forwards. If you're going to miss 51 tackles in a game, you're going to lose. You can score as many points as you like. You're going to let in an awful lot more. The fact that we had 11 clean breaks by New Zealand, and they only scored 7 tries. Is to a certain degree, this one could have got bigger and worse, I think. But the set piece is held together, which is good. But I say Argentina, if you're going to miss 51 tackles, you're going to give 17 turnovers compared to just 8. This was one at the breakdown. And we can talk all we like about the backs and Richard Mwanga break and Mark Talia dodging players and gone black and Jordan scoring tries. But at the end of the day, it was at the breakdown. This one was one, which I think we can which was the same case against Ireland as well. Which shows you that those back that your Sam Canes, Arnie Surveyors, etc. Really are at the top of their game, and that is where, to my mind, this All Blacks team has clicked. Arnie Surveyor 19 tackles non-missed, Sam Cane 14 tackles non-missed, Frizzell 17 tackles 3 missed. Again, front row as well. Group 15 tackles non-missed, Cody Taylor 11 tackles non-missed, Lomax 11 tackles 1 missed. I mean, that pack and the breakdown is where this game was won. I say same as Ireland, and it will be again next weekend. I think the discipline obviously picked up a yellow card for Scott Barrett. Look, you can't lie on the ground and tap the ball up. It's a stupid one. With all these cameras, it's going to get caught. So to me, it was actually that whilst Will Jordan got 3 tries and stuff, to me it was those actually Sam Cane's, Arnie Surveyors, and that front row that were men of the match for me. And yeah, if you're not going to tackle, then Argentina, sorry, you're going to lose big at the end of the day.
Who did get me out of that match?
Oh, God, I'm not sure.
Will Jordan, I would presume. Normally it says on the page who actually gets man of the match at the top, but this one it does not say. Just to completely ruin my day. I'm pretty sure it was Will Jordan though.
You'd expect it to be, wouldn't you?
Yes.
With 3 tries, but yeah. An interesting one. To the yellow card comes to an end, and you say, "No, we're just going to play with 14 players." I mean, it's a little bit of arrogance there. Kind of to finish things off. Oh yeah, we don't need all our players. In fact, boys, all of you come off. Give them the last 5 minutes on their own. That was a bit of a. So yeah, protecting Scott Barrett from picking up a second yellow and getting banned from the last. That's why else are you doing it? You're not. I mean, it's not a fitness thing for the last few games. It's got. They had to have been that they just didn't want Scott Barrett picking up a second yellow and getting banned and getting suspended for the final, which I think is probably also a reason why perhaps Dane Coles wasn't selected for this game at all, as well. Don't want him getting suspended for the final, unless you can come up with another reason.
I mean, you're not implying that Dan Coles is a niggly sort of player, are you? You're not Dan Coles of all people. No,
grub.
Not him. Goodness.
Wonderful player. Don't get me wrong, but disgusting grub is his style of play.
Yeah, no, a massive sarcasm on my part on that. That's about the only reasonable explanation you could really put to the end of it, isn't it? Don't bring him back on. Yeah, doesn't have to go out. No risk. I mean, they haven't looked like scoring a try all night. 15 minutes of only 14 men, they still didn't look like scoring a try. So, yeah, why wouldn't you? It's not worth it, is it? And
even if they did score 2 or 3 tries, who cares?
It doesn't matter.
Why they even played on? I mean, look, guys, the game's over. What have the All Blacks got to gain when it's 80 minutes? Oh, we've got the ball in their half. We can score another try. No, just kick the bloody thing off and don't get injured. Don't pick up a yellow card.
It's easier to play when you've got the ball than without the ball. Let's be honest. Everyone wants to run into a tackle rather than getting tackled. That's what you want to do. So
but after 80 minutes, just kick the ball off.
Oh, at the end. Yeah. All right. Yeah, it did go on for a wee bit at the end, didn't it? I was kind of still eating off that of Will Jordan 4th try to beat the record there at the end. That's what I was going, come on. And then Richie kicks it out. So, loser. You've just done Will Jordan dirty twice.
Well, don't do it dirty. So Will Jordan is now the top try scorer of the tournament and is equal top try scorer of any tournament ever, which is impressive. So one more try in the in the final, and Will Jordan goes down as one of the best players of all time via try scoring in a World Cup at the very least. Well done to him. The people behind him, Damon Penaud on 6 tries. Well, he's not getting any more. Henry Arundel on 5 tries in one game. He's not allowed another. He's not allowed another game apparently.
That's
one more game.
Status.
It's amazing, isn't it? Bundyaki, who's obviously gone home, Darcy Graham has gone home, and Lewis Fitch-Summit has gone home. And then 2 other players who, again, also aren't first choice players, Lester Fainuku and David McKenzie are on 5 tries as well. So I can't see them catching up with Will Jordan as well. Leicester won't be in the final 23, and Dane McKenzie will get 20 to 30 minutes anyway. So unless South Africa really fall apart, I can't see Dane McKenzie picking up 4 tries to become top try scorer of the tournament. Let's be honest. So Will Jordan has got that one all wrapped up. As he says, that's not what he's there for. That's not the purpose. That's not. Well, it is what he's there for. His role on the team, but that's not his target. His target isn't to score tries for record's sake. His target is to score tries to win games. It's about winning the games that matter. But they always say that.
I think he played every game except for Namibia too. Just looking quickly back, he played Uruguay. Yes. He obviously played France, so I think he wasn't in the Namibia game. So, you look at like a lot of those names you said, Darrendells, the Leicesters, and Darcy Graham, of course, went nuts against Romania. I think he scored 5 tries in that game as well. Best triple captain pick in fantasy I've ever had. But, there's a lot of those no-name guys. They just had a blast-out game against the lowest minnow, right? But you look at Damien Penaud, Will Jordan, especially those 2 guys have played against the best teams. They are your number 1 first choice winger. They've not had, Penaud, I think Penaud might have missed 1 game throughout as well. But overall, they've been the best choice, first choice guys. And so it's good to see them at the top. It's a bit budget if you see, a guy that plays against Romania and, Tonga or something and smokes out 5 tries against one or 4 against the other. And then he's like, wow, the best try scorer in the tournament without actually putting on the big games at the end. So I think it's a fair representation in the end of those top 2. Damien Penaud was actually my pick. So, if he actually got to the final, we could have still been happy, but alas.
Damien Penaud, I think would get into quite a lot of people's World 15.
Oh yeah,
on the wing. Yes, Henry Arundel would not. If he'd been top try scorer for the tournament off 1 or 2 games, it would have been, as you say, a bit of a mockery of the award. In all honesty, on that one. So
if only England played attacking rugby, he could be the top try scorer. Against more than just Romania.
No. If he was even selective, he's played 1 game. He hasn't even been selective at any other games.
That's what I mean. Chile, wasn't it? It was Chile.
But you've got to select him first. Doesn't matter what style they play in.
Clearly, we'll get on to that, but clearly they play a kick and defend game. We'll get on to that. But yes, if they played how they played against Chile and actually wanted to run, Arundel could have easily done it from 2 games. He could have played Chile and then he could have played against Japan or Samoa, or he could have easily grabbed 2 tries in each of those games. Bang, he's got 9.
Could have been. Could have gone down as the highest try scorer of any World Cup, better than John Olomu or Brian Abana in 3 games.
3 games.
Anyway,
legendary.
Let's talk about the other game, second game. Now, as you say, if England actually bothered attacking, England did not bother attacking in this game or spinning the ball past basically Farrell until they were behind and losing. They weren't behind and losing until 5 minutes left of the game, or 3 minutes left of the game. Because the last try was on 78 minutes, wasn't it? The penalty.
Okay.
So England had 2 minutes left of the game. Was the first time that England actually spun the ball wide and tried running it. Before then, they played literally the definition of 10-man rugby, and it was as far as 10-man rugby goes, it was beautifully executed. To be put, let's be honest here. They gave you the blueprint as to how you beat South Africa. You have a solid set piece. You look over and see that they've got 2 5-foot wingers, so you kick to them. I mentioned during the game in our group chat that I think Colby had no runs at the time, and basically hadn't touched the ball, and that I've gone blank because the other guy on the other wing had had one run, and the response from John, our South African friend, was, "But the English wingers haven't run it either." So, well, no, but they've not been selected to hold on to the ball and run it. They've been selected to chase and knock the ball back, not even catch it. They're not even expected to hold on to the ball. All they're expected to do is to run forward, tap it back for someone else, and that's their entire role in the entire game. If they make a tackle or two, that'd be nice. But if they don't, we don't really care. Their job is to chase after kicks and knock it back, and that's it. That's all they've had to practice all week. And funnily enough, they did it well. And if you've only got to practice that all week, you should do it well. If you're trying to practice more stuff, then obviously it takes a bit more effort. But just running forwards, jumping in the air and tapping back, hell, that's a game plan you can teach in a week, as long as you've got someone who can kick. And as I think we all know, one of the things that Farrell can do is he can tactically kick. He can also shoulder barge people, but that's a secondary skill. As a primary skill, the guy can kick and the guy can pass. We didn't actually see him pass in this game, I don't think, maybe twice. But this and they showed you that basically South Africa, they've got short wingers, and let's be honest, Willemse, their fullback, is a makeshift or is a ball playing fullback who is normally a fly half. He's not a Freddie Stewart, who was brought in to replace. He's the Marcus Smith for South Africa. England brought in Freddie Stewart, who is. So they basically said, "Look, we've got our guy at the back here. His job is to catch balls, and he's tall. That's all you want him to do, and occasionally kick. But we'll leave Farrell doing most of the kicking." That was a sign there that they just were not going to play rugby at all. Give you an idea as to kind of how little rugby was played in this. Argentina versus New Zealand. Argentina ran the ball 153 times. New Zealand ran it 168 times. England versus South Africa. New Zealand ran the ball more than both teams combined. England 83 runs, South Africa 69 runs. South Africa didn't play any rugby in this game at all. They weren't allowed to, and they didn't bother. They tried to run up the middle. England defended well. They didn't do an Argentina. They missed 15 tackles, which at 86%. The Springboks missed 14. Which at 9%, which is actually high for them. Normally they miss more than that because but England just didn't bother running at them. They just kicked it instead. It was and Rassie was outcoached for 90 minutes of this game, put bluntly, basically.
You know, I'll even go one further, and an argument against you and say it was a 9-man rugby played to almost perfection, because Alex Mitchell kicked almost 50% more than Farrell. He made 17 kicks as opposed to 12, so it was almost 50%. But it hardly made it past the ruck, really. Every ruck was a box kick, or if it really got outside of that, it was kick from Farrell. So it was a game of just constant high ball drive back, really, just going up. And this game kind of had a little bit of air about it of Twickenham in the game of South Africa versus the All Blacks there, because South Africa kicked so tactically well there. The All Blacks spent most of their time just trying to get out of their half, whereas that's what South Africa was trying to do with their kicking, was trying to get out of their half, because clearly you don't want to play inside your own half. So they're trying to get out. When they did get in the England half, they tried to play a bit more, but the English defence rushed so hard at them that they barely got it past, Delendi at 12 to get it through past the wingers after that. So defensively, perfectly executed. This is a game plan of a team that knows exactly how they want to play, right? They know what their strengths are, and this is England I'm talking about. They know they had a good back row. They had an adequate type 5, good enough to win set piece, very good in the second row, good at the lineouts. They disrupted the South Africans' lineout. They actually turned a few of them over. They won the ball there, and they just put the pressure on, and knew that if they were in the right half and a mistake come their way, they could either execute the drop goal or the penalties. And that's really the game plan, was just to make sure you get the ball, put the other team down there and kick. And when you've got players that are good at that, like you say, Mitchell, I think, has been pretty up and down throughout this tournament. That was his best game by far. He kicked well. He got the ball out fairly well, and he did his job as as good as you could have hoped he did. His kicks, bar maybe one or two wayward ones that went into touch on the full, generally were contestable. They had good heights, they had the perfect sort of distance on them, and really, South Africa just couldn't get out of the web. They were stuck. They were sucked in. They were stuck playing the England game, and they just couldn't get out of it until a little bit of fortuitous luck at the end to get into an attacking area with a couple of penalties. So this was just about England getting the right places. No,
I won't call it fortuitous luck, to be fair to them. But anyway, but we'll just
to get that territory. It was 2 penalties in a row. I mean, they didn't get that any other time of the game.
Whatever, but as soon as it hit, it came down to scrum time. But we'll talk about that at the end of it. But to give you again, 2 players that really would have to have done an awful lot of work after the game just to make it feel like they played a game were Marchant and Creel. Jesse Creel, because you talked about how it rarely went past De Lende. Jesse Creel, 0 passes, 0 runs. Right? Joe Marchant, 0 passes, 1 run for 6 meters. On the defensive side, Joe Marchant, 1 turnover conceded and 2 tackles made. Jesse Creel, 2 turnovers conceded. How he did that with no runs, and I've got no idea. And 3 tackles, 1 missed. I mean, between them, they made 5 tackles and missed 1. Made 1 run and didn't pass the ball. I mean, they really were. Why?
I think Marchant's run too was in that last 30 seconds too, down the left wing when they were trying everything desperately hard to get within 30 meters of the line. I seem to remember him getting a touch. We rumbled a couple of ways down there. But yeah, that's a crazy stat. But it just shows how that game was played. I mean, to talk about this and not credit England for playing to their strengths, you're doing yourself a misjustice, because they knew exactly how they wanted to play and they knew exactly how their game plan was going to go, and obviously had feeling confident that they're going to win it.
Their strengths, but also a lot of their strengths again, line out, set piece, and then some crashing ball, and you're like, well, yeah, but if you try that against South Africa, it ain't going to work. So there was they avoided some of their own strengths because they knew that would play into South Africa's strengths. It was like, okay, what's South Africa's weakness? How do we exploit that? Oh yes, we have got tall wingers who we don't care about carrying the ball. We're just going to kick it to them, and it was a bit of strength and weakness and spotting that, because it's very similar. Because South Africa did this against France. I remember in the last game, cross-field kicks. But what they did, they put Peter Steph du Toit out there. They didn't rely on when they're engineering for their kick. They had the right player out there. They had a tall player out there. They didn't go, oh, you know what, Cheslin Colby, he can jump against the opposition. No. So on that, and not sure else. England nearly pulled it off, but for a cooked throw, and the reserve Springbok props. And
we haven't even started on the reserves yet. That's a whole other conversation.
Look, England, their execution for England was very good for most of the night. But you're right. And look, South Africa also threw a few crooked lineouts as well. So it wasn't. Look, it was wet. It didn't look that wet on the camera, but they kept talking about it raining. So it must mean some wetness there. England, look, normally South Africa have got a great got a really good line out. If we look at the stats from their quarterfinal against France, for example, he says pulling it up. Come on. They had 5 lineouts and won them all. So they won 7 out of their 8 scrums. Coming to this game, 19 lineouts for them, and they lost 4. So England did that, which was Courtney Lawes had a cracking game, and if they won the game, I think Courtney Lawes would have been man of the match for this one.
Only Owen Farrell's allowed to be man of the match.
Sorry,
only Owen Farrell's allowed to be man of the match. No one else. It's regardless of how well they play. The All Black captain, remember?
Well, he's the All Black captain. Yeah, see that's why the All Blacks have a chance of winning this weekend. So that disruption of that, and like I say, both England lost 3 lineouts as well, that was that, and then yes, it came down to England started their scrummaging props, and boy oh boy, could you tell, because when the subs came on, the English reserve props, I think I think England had actually lost a penalty, had a penalty given away on one of their own put-ins, and so hence they changed their props. Going, okay, look, our guys are knackered now. Send on the new guys. At which point they went on to lose 3 scrums on the bounce of their own put-in, and South Africa was 7 from 8 on their put-in. Now, whether you agree or disagree with whether scrums should be used as penalty machines or not, those are the laws and how it is. I know a lot of people have been complaining about it since then. But yes, England's reserve props just could not scrummage, couldn't hold up the scrum. And that's where South Africa won. You have a scrum, penalty, kick. Scrum, penalty, kick. Boom, done. And off they go and win the game and sneak and basically get out of jail. Let's be blunt on that one. They should have won this game comfortably. They are a much better side than England overall, right? England is a much worse side. And this is what LB says now. Everyone's praising England for their game. Need to take back everything negative they said about Springboks' game plan in 2019. No, Springboks had the players to play a good game plan in 2017. England don't. England got a shit team with a bunch of players who can't play. And on a very short turnaround. Razzie had longer than this with the Springboks. England put together the only way they could beat South Africa in this game. There's no other way they could have beaten South Africa in this game. And that's why everyone's praising them, is the fact that they, with a very limited set of players, I mean, Johnny May used to be quick in a straight line and used to, Elliot Daly used to be quick and used to also be able to kick long. I've not seen him do that once in this tournament, I don't think. Those guys are well past their prime. This England team is nowhere near man for man the level of the Springboks 2019 team was.
Summed up. I mean, you summed it up pretty much. Gone through about 3 different points. I was going to go back to the reserves. I see someone did mention Oxenshea in the Nocturnal, saying, Oxenshea completely changed the scrum. Whether it was his input along with the substitutes from England as well, but he definitely turned it completely around. His work coming off the bench was just outstanding. Him and Vincent Koch, but I mean, Ox was the one getting all the plaudits for that one. But I think RG Snyman scored the try, obviously fantastic, but he changed that line out. There was a lot of throws going wayward for the Springboks until Snyman came on, and he changed that line out. So you've got now props who are winning scrums. You've got a lock who's winning the lineouts, or wherever they played him, because let's be honest, their second and back row are pretty much interchangeable in those sort of positions. And then you had Quagga Smith, who was just a diabolical pain in the butt for any team against him when it comes to the breakdown. Criticize him illegal, whatever you want to do, it doesn't really matter. But the fact is, he gets in there, he makes a mess of it, and he gets away with what he does, and he changes the breakdown. So you've straight away gone to winning your scrums, winning your line out, and you're getting faster ball at your breakdown. Is there 3 more important things to win a rugby game? Winning your set piece and getting quick ball out of your breakdown, or just recycling your own ball out of a breakdown? That massively changed the game for the Springboks going through those later stages. And you can tell all those key stats that you mentioned all turned around after those last couple of minutes. So that changed it massively. But talking with England about how the only way they can win, we knew going into this that they weren't going to be outpacing, Elliot Daly wasn't going to be smoking down past Ches and Colby and Curtly Odinson down the wing, was he? Neither was Johnny May. And we knew that was never going to happen. And
careful, you're going to make me spit beer all over my computer and destroy it.
You know that deal, India Creel, Tulangi Marchant, all they do is just run into each other like brick walls. So you literally got 4 guys in midfield who don't like to pass it and like to run straight. Creel, okay, did a little fancy kick in that quarterfinal, but let's be honest, he likes just running and charging into people. So you got 4 midfielders who go, you've got 2 slow wingers that love a high ball, 2 little short wingers who are quick and rapid, but don't get enough ball. I think what we're not talking enough about in this game is the weather. And that, I think, was a good 60% massive boost towards England. Huge boost towards England, because they could play that style of game even better, because not only did it shut down the Springboks' ability to play their more expansive style that they probably would have liked to play, it gives you that doubt about your handling. It just does makes you 50-50 going that long pass. It just makes you play a little bit tighter. what did England want to do? They wanted to play tighter. They wanted to play those high balls, and they wanted to play that style of game. So I think the weather, if it was a nice sunny day, I would have liked to see how that game would have gone, how it would have played out if it was the same, how well that game plan would have worked, and we'd be talking about it the same. But play the conditions, right? They got those conditions. I think it helped them. I think it put a bit more pressure on the Springbok game plan. But, I mean, end of the day, overall, what an outstanding game. I mean, I was literally nervous watching that game because it was so close and exciting. And I didn't care who won. I had absolutely no affiliation to either side about wanting to win or lose. It was just so tight and tense. And such a knife edge, too. It's not like, oh, they need to score a try or, they need to do literally a snap moment could change that game with a kick or a drop goal. And even at the end, with that 2 minutes left after that penalty from Andre Pollard, George Ford came on. And he come on for Johnny May, and you knew straight away, it's like, well, they're just going to bulldoze it up. If they can get the kicker to the 10-meter line in the Springboks half, one of those two, watch them pivot, centre field, left side, right side. It's going to be tough to try and charge both of those or put pressure on both of those options. And they, the game plan was straight away for them, but they just, again, the Springboks, not only all those other set pieces and some of that change, their defence was a lot more desperate. That was really desperate defence. They were up. And they were swinging arms. They were like flinging at legs. They were just doing whatever they could to not just make tackles, but just disrupt the flow and the momentum of their play. So you guys were tripping, sliding all over the place.
England never made. We're never really getting over the gain line through carrying the ball anyway. So through the whole game,
carry the ball.
But yeah, no, it's the. But yeah, no, the desperation did that. But I mean, one of the things, LB is, how simple is the ball there? I've never seen a hooker throws the opposition 9 from a line out. Yeah, I mean, there's crooked throws, and then there's just, well, what the hell happened there? It looks like Bully Footballer must be at an end. A couple of bad errors, and his conditioning's not great. Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm afraid your other point, not throwing right. So if England has got better this World Cup has gone on, true. There is a base to build a better team with a couple of changes in the back line. No, there isn't, because half this team is retiring after this Rugby World Cup. So this was their last chance. I mean, players like Courtney Laws, Farrell's got to be at the end of the line now. The props, George has got to be. There's so many players in this team. Obviously, Elliot Daly and May, they're not making it to the Rugby World Cup. I mean, half this team is retiring after this one.
George is 33.
The LB, he's not made the next Rugby World Cup at 37. LB, England has the most talent out of any union. No, England have the most professional players out of any union. That doesn't mean they're talented. Okay, it's not about having that. So yes, I agree. They've got more players to pick from, but if they're all shit, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, and the actual players they've got here, I don't know if there are other players. I don't follow the Premiership closely enough anymore to tell you if there are other players they could have picked. But yeah, no, sorry, that's not the South African squad is much more talented than the England squad. Faf, of course, knocked on in the quarterfinal and the semi-final to finish the games. Yeah, interesting that about is Faf really the kind of player? Is he really a bench player? I think a lot of people think he's actually a starter and doesn't actually do that well when he comes off the bench. But look, let's be honest, he is perhaps the most annoying defensive scrum half in world rugby. I used to actually kind of enjoy his clapping and stuff, but it's become just too much. And nowadays, it just winds me up now. On that one, England of average age was 28. Wow, compared to 30 South Africa. Oh, look, don't get me wrong. South Africa are also this is kind of a last chance saloon for all of their players as well. So I'm not sure about England being in that good a place, to be honest. If England win the third place playoff and New Zealand win the World Cup, they will have the best record of any team in the last 2 World Cups. Yeah, true. Only 3 losses in the last 3 World Cups. Yeah, but let's be honest, the draw helped them out this time. Let's be honest about that with this one. And you do have to. That was one of my kind of thoughts was: are England the best semi-final team in world rugby, having beaten New Zealand when they shouldn't have done last World Cup? Come very close to this Rugby World Cup. Are they that team that can peak for semi-finals like no other team in world rugby?
They get to them at least, don't they?
Well, that's true. Ireland. Sorry.
That was low. Hey, look, we talk about England and their age and the future of the side. I don't disagree too hugely because I think they've got a good core. I think the front row is certainly one area that may be of question, but I know George Martin was a comment just at the end there. He looks like he's going to be a fantastic talent for them. But the combination of Tom Curry and Ben Earl, and predominantly Ben Earl, I think is a guy that's going to pack down at the back of that pack for a lot. He's fantastic now, and he sits at just 25 years old. He's probably got at least one more. If he's a really late bloomer, he could go with 2 World Cups as well at the end. So, yeah, they've got good options through key areas. If you look through a good back row, a good second row option, and you got that young Van Portveld as well was another one who was supposed to be at this World Cup, got injured coming into it as well. You got Freddie Stewart's only 22 years of age. Now he's played a number of test matches, 30 caps for the England already. So I think in key spots, you've got guys who have got experience, but let's be honest, and I follow up briefly.
22 and 30 caps. Bloody hell.
Freddie Stewart. Yeah, I thought, 8 tries as well, which I'm surprised he remembers what they are. But hey, aside from that, let's be honest, Premiership has a lot of quality players, and I've seen just through the Discord and doing the streams that there's a lot of upset English fans. I don't know how many come through here, but there's a lot, especially backs. There's a lot of exciting, pacey, skillful backs in the Premiership and in the URC for that matter, but especially Premiership for England, that just English fans just wish they could have got. I think this team could have been a lot better going forward, especially when you look at the attacking style they could play. But of course, those sort of players don't fit into it. As we've seen with the South Africa, when they get drawn into that, those excitement players kind of go by the wayward side. So I can kind of see the plan. I think England's probably had this idea from the start to go off this. I mean, we saw it in game 1 against Argentina, didn't we? They packed down. They took, George Ford scored all their points and they won comfortably. And I knew this game was going to be a replica of that too, because that's just how, when important games come along, they wear back to that tactic. But future-wise, we'll see, who's going to be obviously coaching the team, whether Borthwick's going to be through the next 4 years with the side as well, and whether this young, exciting talent that comes through the Premiership, a number of guys there could have certainly been at this World Cup. But yeah, there's a core there, right? And there's a lot of guys that could, I think, make a difference. Going through the side. And see, how old is Alex Mitchell? He's had a good little nudge in the tournament as well, and he's only 26. So, I mean, scrum halves, a couple of good young ones there, a good fullback, good back row. They're not a terrible place, but are they going to lose a lot of experience? So the next 4 years is going to be hugely important to get the next, I think, especially that front row. They need to nail down a good 6, 8, 10 props, hookers, front row combinations, and look towards the next 4 years for those sort of guys. But yeah, I can't argue that there's talent there. I think there's a lot of talent throughout the Premiership. They've just got to pick the guys, the right guys, and do what the All Blacks do. We see it here, How many guys have gone on and played 1 or 2 tests, or even just gone into training camps, and they've just not had that, what they're looking for, They've played one, and then they're gone. And then we're like, wow, they're really good at Super Rugby. Why are we not seeing them anymore? Sean Stevenson, guys like that. How many outside backs, just don't get to that next sort of step? Peter Gasol Coolers, all those sorts of names. They just, you just got to go out there and you got to throw these guys at this level and say, do you have the goods? Are you going to be that sort of guy in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Guys that are in their mid-20s and look to build up from there and build around that core of Ben Earl. Just Ben Earl, man. Just look after Ben Earl. At all the World Cup, if I was making my best 15, which I guess we'll probably do at the end of the World Cup, he's my number 8 straight away. I'd argue where you like. I mean, I'd find very few people. He's at 8, Law's at 6. Don't give me another Englishman though. That's it.
No, I mean, you look at this. You Jamie George, Dane Cole, Ellis Genge, Joe Marler, are all off. But you're quite right. You got your players. You got that Ben Earl 25, Tom Curry 25, Lewis Ludlam or Sam Underhill both 27. So you got your core of your back row in there.
Yeah, Ludlam's good. Yeah.
In the locks, again, Ollie Chesham is only 23. George Martin 22. Courtney Laws obviously 34. He'll be gone, but Itoje still 28. He'll be around in 4 years' time. So
yep.
Yes, there are. I agree that there are just those. That front row is all disappearing. You're going to lose obviously Ben Youngs and Danny Kerr as well out of the scrum halves. You've obviously Farrell won't be there as well. So Marcus Smith has got to come through. Your Elliot Daly's, Manu Tuolangi. I mean, geez, he's only 32, which surprises me. It feels like we've been trying to build a team around Manu Tuolangi and hope he'll get fit for 20 years now. The fact that he has become fit in his sort of early 30s is a thing that's scary. How can he not be fit in his mid 20s? I mean, geez, isn't it? Especially the other way around. But anyway,
Theo Dan's another option, hooker. He's been in around that starting 23 for a while. Probably hasn't got the opportunities, but 22 years of age. Another one. Genge's only 28. He's probably got another World Cup on him if he wants to stay fit for that. So I think the core is there. You just got to get the right person to make the right calls and develop around them. You don't just have to build a starting 15. You got to build a 30-man squad, right? I think you got to have 40 player options, 50 player options that you can pick from and say, I like what I saw from these guys and those guys. These fellas, just stay there, and if things get real bad, we know what we could get from you.
So, Christopher, in your opinion, which Northern Hemisphere team did the best? Well, clearly England, right? Coming into this, there was a question mark whether England actually make it out of their group, and the fact that they've made it up to the third, fourth playoff shows you that, look, compared to expectation, they've done the best out of any team. There was an expectation that now does that mean they're the best Northern Hemisphere team here? No, Scotland, Ireland, France, all better than England, better teams. But that's not who did the best. Well, Scotland didn't do the best because they didn't make it out the group stages. Ireland and France. Look, the expectation was they were going to be. They were looking at winning this thing. So you got to say they didn't do the best because versus expectation. Are they better teams than England? Absolutely, but that's different. That's a very different question to who's done the best, because I could put that compared to what you expect of them. Actually, arguably, Portugal are the best Northern Hemisphere team.
Yes, I literally had to Google whether Portugal's in the Northern Hemisphere. I even Googled as Uruguay and as Chile as well, because I thought that were quite fun. I was going to hit you with the Portugal.
Uruguay and Chile are South American teams.
They are, yes. But that was my call, was Portugal. I was going to say the best
team
in the Northern Hemisphere was Portugal. I even had to Google it just to make sure that
I just saved myself in time there, actually, with the Portugal one.
Portugal will be fun. They'll be my favourite team. I agree with you, though. It's expectation and squad depth, right? If you swap the place of France and Ireland with England and Wales, you're going to have very different four teams in the semi-finals of the competition, aren't you? So
and potentially the final as well.
And potentially the final as well, yeah. Ireland would have made a semi-final, France would have been in their mix as well. And again, you look at this, and how would have that game, South Africa and France, gone in the rain? They had a little bit of drizzle in their game, but it wasn't anywhere near as messy as it was in this game yesterday. So that could have been very different. Ireland versus the All Blacks in the rain, if those conditions are different as well, it could have been a very, very different sort of game. So it comes down to a lot of factors. Playing in a semi-final versus a quarter-final, preparing for all this time for these sort of instances. But best performing, I think, take expectation away or final position out of it. Ireland still look like the team. They still look like the best performance team, I think, in the tournament. France look good, but they look like they had moments and they looked like they had a bit more vulnerability about them. But just the performance it took from the All Blacks to beat them was so much higher, right, than we've seen in the last couple of years. Whereas for Ireland, they've been playing at that sort of level for years. So whereas Ireland comes soaring in at this high level, it took the All Blacks to go from here to actually just nip past them at a 3-year best performance in a one-off game by the All Blacks. So I'd say Ireland was still, out of any performance, I think they're the best consistently performing team, not only at the World Cup, but last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, the problem for them is how do you replace Sexton? In all honesty, we'll see going forward. Christopher Bay, if South Africa wins the Sea to become the World Cup player of all time. Wow, I mean that's a big call. He will be the second captain to lift the cup twice after Richie.
What about Sam Whitelock become that because he's the first player to get 3 finals and to win 3 World Cups?
If they win,
definitely the first for 3 finals though.
Yeah, wow, and he missed that one. He could have done 4.
Damn you,
Maybe
England.
not best player, but the biggest World Cup superstar. I think it's hard to look past Loma as being the biggest World Cup superstar. In the fact that he transcended rugby and was known by people outside of rugby on that one. So, I disagree on that one. We probably should look forward to the final. I will be doing my predictions over on patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio, so look out for those. I will warn you, I have not been the best picker during this tournament by quite a long shot, but I will do that. Also, after the Rugby World Cup final over on Patreon, there will also be my grades for all the teams as to how they did versus expectation on that one. Chris O'Bay, I think Khaleesi is as big as Lomu. Outside of rugby, I don't know. Whether he is or not. Within rugby, sure, but I'm not sure about outside of rugby.
You're looking at a different perspective too. I do agree on that. Like from this part of the world, Lomu is, but from an African perspective, I think Khaleesi would be as much of an idol. But it's your perspective, global perspective. Do you think if you look at rugby as a global sport, can you go to USA and can you go to someone in Los Angeles and do you know John Lomu? Do you know Sia Khaleesi? And they'll go, what are you talking about, man? They would have no idea. They know All Blacks and that's about it. So I guess the brand of the team probably does a little bit of favor for Lomu as well. But yeah, I think if you go to different parts in the world, you'll get different answers on who was the most.
Yeah, I was thinking about the States as well. Yeah. Because predictions for the semi-final, for the third place, like I say, they'll be over on Patreon, so look out for that over on patreon.com. But let's look forward to the final then, cornflake between the All Blacks and South Africa. To my mind, I think the All Blacks go in as favourites to this, even though they did lose to South Africa pre-Rugby World Cup because of how they seem to have reached a new level than where they were then. At the moment, to me, they are, if they get front football, if you give them front football, they are the most clinical attacking team in world rugby. The way you have to stop them is stop them getting front football, because they get it, you're toast. So I think the battle is going to be that breakdown, and that to me is where this game is going to be won and lost. LB, All Blacks heavy favourites. Really? I mean, making them heavy favourites after a record defeat to the Springboks pre-Rugby World Cup, where the Springboks beat New Zealand 7-35. I heavy favourites is perhaps a little bit over the top. Your views, Steve?
Yeah, well, like I said last week, I completely do anything from France All Blacks at the start of the World Cup, completely off the list. It may as well have happened in 2012. For all I care about it, it has no bearing on this whatsoever. I don't think I'd go heavy favourites. I've seen at the TAB they are considerable favourites, not much over $1 to about $3 something, if I'm not mistaken, earlier today. But considerable favourites. It's not really that close. But performance-wise, I think the All Blacks have shown they have an incredibly high level of performance that they can go to. Again, the question is, I said this last week, can they go there again? We didn't see it against Argentina, didn't need to see it against Argentina. So I think they'll keep that in their back pocket, especially from that semi-final. If they didn't need to pull out, all that incredible sort of breakdown plan, some of that, they wouldn't. But can you deliver that again? And what's the weather going to be like? I keep going back to the weather. I think it's going to be a massive factor in how these teams play as well. I hope we get a good sunny, nice evening, because I think both sides could put on a spectacle. That'll be great for the game. Your marquee, big grand final performance. If we've got tries, if we've got a 30-odd each scoreline decided by less than a try, that's what we want. Publicity for the game, right? Make it good and exciting. That's what I hope we get. But yeah, I think All Blacks have to be favourites. I think a bit of spot. They had a little bit less of a toil of a semi-final, so they should be a little bit more rested. And both sides know what they're coming up against. I think there'll be a lot of All Blacks versus Ireland tape watching. I think there'll be a lot of France Springboks, England Springbok tape watching. I think the All Blacks got probably a little bit more data to go through over the next week. But come match day, it's going to be down to execution. We talked about those lack of handling errors, those key moments. All of those things are being decided by that throughout these really, really close games. And you talk about key moments for that England game as well. The substitution of Libbok after half an hour for Andre Pollard. Again, tactical nous, and ability to make those changes on the fly for the South Africans, I think has definitely added for their depth, and their capabilities and knowledge to know when a game's not going the way for a player that they can switch their whole game around with a change or two in that side. And they're not afraid to do it very early on in the matchup, which we've seen them do as well. But hopefully it's dry, hopefully it's clean, and we get to see some attacking rugby. But yeah, defense, execution of the breakdown, and just winning your own ball, and discipline. So key things. Winning that forward battle is going to be massive. I think the All Black front row has stood up over the last 6 weeks of this World Cup as well. They're becoming, from the area we were worried about at the start of the World Cup, now they are, I think, an area we could almost have confidence they're going to stand up and deliver on the big stage game. So just give me a good close game, so we can all have a heart attack on Sunday morning.
Yeah, we do want to have that's the big one thing to talk about. To say that's the England game versus Africa. So yeah, it was a cracking watch, but it's not when you're going to go back and watch, right? It wasn't a great game it was great to watch live because it was close and tense. As far as skill set and when you go back and watch it again, no, thank you. But so that's what we want. We want a close, tense game. Now, whether it's when we go back and watch again, I don't really care, to be honest with you. We just want one that's tense, that we can actually watch from that the people will watch. It's good for good for that. Any news on the weather for the game? So, quick Googling of the old weather says showers on Saturday. Look, dying down after about 6 o'clock. So I think with the kickoff 9 p.m. CEST. God knows what CEST is nowadays. Anyway, I'm not sure what local time is, but I'm guessing it's it will. I think it'll be wet before the game, but possibly not. But possibly slightly not so wet during the game on that one. Moisa Bass says that he reckons there's going to be yellow cards on Saturday. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see
Wayne Barnes.
See a card. So yeah, Wayne Barnes on that one. So I'm just trying to think which games has Wayne Barnes. So he did Ireland, New Zealand. Was there a yellow card in that one? I can't remember now.
I don't think so.
It was a red card, wasn't it? Yellow, was it yellow card for Aaron Smith? Not that.
Oh, knock on, the intentional incident knock on. Yeah,
Aaron Smith and Cody Taylor both picked up yellow cards in that game. So yes, so Wayne Barnes does have previous of yellow carding New Zealand players. So don't worry from a South African point of view on that one. But yes, I do think it will. I think we will have some rain. I'm also threatening to join Steve's live stream for the final as well if he'll have me on. So maybe join us during the game on the old where can we find YouTube and Twitch?
Yep, both of them. Yep.
So there we go. So I'm threatening to join him for the live stream of that. So do join us during the game. I won't be part of his live stream for Argentina versus England because I've got a market to go to where I sell my wooden horse stables. Toy stables and stuff. So check out Kia Play if you've got any small kids that enjoy playing with animals and farm buildings. On that one, any other final points? I guess because we have run over time.
What a surprise! What a shock! Not too much. What we haven't talked about is the third, fourth place game, right? Argentina and England. I spoke about this on Sunday morning. I think this is going to be a game that England don't want to play, and Argentina will be quite happy to play. I mean, it's going to be quite a bit of a factor for this game. Obviously, Argentina will be disappointed, but for Argentina, a third place finish over a fourth place finish actually means something for them. I feel like it's a step up. It's like they'll be boom proud of that third place. I think they'll go out. Team selection, I don't know what Chick is going to do. He can be a bit erratic at times, but I think in terms of the passion from the players, I think we're going to see a bit more desire from Argentina to win. England, I don't think we'll give two craps about the result of this game. I think they will mix and change just about everything. What does it matter? They've lost. They've lost a semi-final. Farrell won't want to play. Ford will play. Tactically wise, I don't know if they'll change too much, but I think personnel wise, you may see a few of those old fellas go out for their final little trot. But I think you'll see a definite change in their desire to win. I don't think will be as strong, and I don't think their personnel will be as strong as the semi-final. Whereas I do hope the Pumas go out there and throw everything. Full team, first team, give Creevy the send-off, man. Give Augustine the big one up. Third place fight in his last game. A number of their players are retiring as well. It's a similar boat for all these sort of teams. A number of big guys are going to be leaving. But what a way to go, like, for a legend in the game. You think Argentinian legends, you know, Contepomis, Pichos, Augustine Creevy's right up there with the best of them. So, yeah, for him and for the Argentinians, I think this third place will mean a lot more for them than it will for England. England's sort of team to me that will take their bronze medal and they'll take it off straight away. Whereas Argentina, they'll literally cable tie it to their shirts and not take it off for a month. They'll be at the pubs in France down there with their bronze medals on. That's just a feeling you get from the team, you know, the passion and their belief and just their desire to win the game. So that's kind of why I'll be backing the Pumas to pick up the victory on the Saturday morning, that one.
Yeah, on Saturday morning. So England have made it to the semi-finals 5 times before. 4 times they made it to the final. Once they've been the third, fourth playoff. This is only the second time they've been in this situation. They lost to France in 1995, 19-9 in that one. Whereas Argentina never made it to the final, but so every time they make it to the semi-finals, they end up in the third, fourth playoff. Back in 2007, they beat France 34-10. And then 2 World Cups ago, 2015, they lost to South Africa 24-13. So they're on a run now of every other World Cup. They end up in the bronze final, which is just not a bad, not a bad place to be. On that one, yes, and it's likely to rain on that one. So look, again, I can see being a tense, close affair, but one that I don't think will be on replay for on the quality of rugby side of things. Let's be honest, these two teams should have bowed out at the quarterfinal stage. They shouldn't really be here at this stage. But hey, you just got to play the rules, and the teams that play up, that turn up against you, you don't get to control that. Someone else does. So fine. Obviously they're going to do their best to get there. I think this actually be quite a big thing for England after being written off so much pre-Rugby World Cup. I think actually they'll be a bit more up for this, but I could be wrong. As you say, I do think this means a lot to Argentina, and for them to. I mean, it's how they got into the Rugby Championship, right? Beating France back in 2007 in France. They're back in France again. Can they? There'll be a bunch of guys here whose heroes were in that game, who they kind of dreamed playing with, who dreamed to be on the stage, who see those guys as the guys who laid the platform for where they are now, and the opportunities they've got now. I wouldn't be surprised to see them, as you say, want to do this one in honor of those heroes back in 2007. So yes, Argentina will definitely be up for this one. Whether England will, a bit more questionable, but I think they will be to a certain degree. They clearly were up last weekend. But we've seen back 4 years ago, they could get up for a New Zealand game, but then found it very difficult to get themselves back up for the finals. So we'll see on that one. And that is also going to be one of the question marks around the box. 3 tough games in 3 weekends. New Zealand's had a kind of, I won't say an off week, but had an easier week in between the quarterfinal and the final. So that piece there. Do join. Where's the belief, Paul, says Chris Oblay. I just said I think they'll go up for it, but I'll say I can see why Argentina will be up for it and why it means so much to them. Do join Cornflake for his live streams of the 2 games. So whack it on one screen, whack him on the other screen, and get in the live chat with him around the two finals this coming weekend. As I say, I'm going to try and nudge my way into the final one on Sunday. And who knows, you might catch us both on some URC or some Premiership or some Super Rugby live streams as well. You never know. Stranger things have happened. Have a great, stay safe, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me, Steve, and good night all.